In this PlayStation Plus membership plans compared video, I want to walk you through the differences between Essential, Extra, and Premium. So we can see we've got all sorts of stuff here. Essential, Extra, Premium, lots of ticks and things that may make you scratch your head. So let's talk about the differences. Essential gives you access to monthly games, online multiplayer, exclusive discounts, exclusive content, cloud storage, and share play. We'll talk a little bit about those, but we're really focusing on the comparison of different membership plans here. But monthly games is basically games that pop up from month to month that you can claim and then access later as long as your subscription is active and it's not been removed from the system entirely. Online multiplayer gives you, funny enough, access to online multiplayer. So if you're playing a game where there is multiplayer options, you'll be able to access that. Now, one thing I want to point out there, if we just quickly scroll to the bottom of this page, is do you need PlayStation Plus to play all online games? And as Sony says, for the majority of games that you've purchased on disc or downloaded from PlayStation Store, you need a PlayStation Plus membership plan to play online. Most free-to-play games such as Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Call of Duty Warzone do not require a membership. So the thing I want to point out there is if you only play Fortnite, if that is your game and you don't play anything else multiplayer, you don't need the PlayStation Plus membership. But if it's a game that you've paid for, like FC25, for example, and you're playing Ultimate Team, you would need it. So we've got prices there, but I want to go back up to these differences here and talk about them. So next up, we've got exclusive discounts. If you log in on the PlayStation Store and you are a member, you will find that you get the odd deal on a game or downloadable content, and that varies. That's up to Sony as to what they offer, but you should find you get better deals than somebody who is not a PlayStation Plus member. Exclusive content, that could be exclusive DLCs, so little bits of downloadable content on the games that you own that you can download as part of your PlayStation Plus membership. So yeah, a small little benefit there. The bulk of the things that you're getting here really is all to do with this online multiplayer access, not really anything else that's that chunky. You've got cloud storage, which means you can save your save files in the cloud, and if you were going to use another console elsewhere and signed in on there, in theory your save file would come over. So slight benefit there. Or if your console blew up, you replaced your console, if your save data is in the cloud, in theory everything will be fine when you reinstall. SharePlay enables you to play with another player who perhaps doesn't own your game and they want to play it alongside you or via their console. I think that's what that is, so you have access to that as well. But we're talking about comparison differences here between the plans. So what does Extra add? What does Premium add? Let's talk about Extra. So you can see here on top of that, you get the game catalog and Ubisoft Plus Classics on top of the Essential one here. So that's the big difference between the two. And price-wise, we're talking a little bit more money here, not crazy money, but this one is £60 a month in the UK, or just under £59.99. This one is £99.99 to add these. So you're like, well, that's quite a big jump in price, and that's because you have access to well over 100 games here on the PlayStation 5 and a few hundred on the PlayStation 4. So we're going to talk about that in just a second as well. But that's the big difference between Essential and Extra. Now, Premium, on top of that, for a further £20, so 100 versus 120, gives you a few more bits. You get the Classics catalogue. You get game trials. Classics catalogue are really old games, and again, up to you whether you're going to find that of interest or not. I think it's pushing it, but we'll have a little look. You get access to game trials, so that's a bit more interesting. Latest and greatest games you can trial out on this for a limited time period. So there are some pretty modern games on there that you can get access to and just give them a go before buying them. So that's quite nice. You have PS5 cloud streaming. That's quite interesting in that you can stream games on your PS5 from the PlayStation catalog, and you don't need to install them. So it's not going to be as smooth as installing the game itself directly on your console, but it still works pretty well, particularly if you've got a fast internet connection. You've also got access to the Sony Pictures catalogue. That's quite interesting in that you can watch, I think it's 100 Sony movies on your PlayStation if you install certain things. So that's the different things, and we'll talk a little bit about this now. So if we have a little look at the games that we're talking about, there are some massive games on it, like Ghost of Tsushima, you've got The Witcher Wild Hunt, you've got Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Interesting, fairly recent addition, God of War Ragnarok, which is a huge game, really cool game, been out quite a while, of course. You've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you've got GTA Auto 5. They are some of the core games that we get here. And if we go and see all games, there's way more stuff that we get here. So let's look at the monthly games first. So this is one perk between Essential, and the other ones, and these are the games that you could get. Need for Speed on the PS4, Suicide Squad on the PS5, and the Stanley Parable on PS5, PS4. So you'd log in this month, you could claim those games and then use them moving forwards, assuming Sony doesn't change anything about it. If we change this and have a little look at the biggest thing, which is the game catalog, this shows you, initially you think, oh, brilliant, 393 games, that seems like a no-brainer. The downside is, though, that these mix, this is only supposedly working on PS4, but if we choose this here, PS5 or PS4, you can see if I change to PS5, that game disappears. Now, you may be able to play it. I'm not sure how sort of fussy this is. This might just say it's not configured to work beautifully on there. It might not work at all. So I'm not sure, to be honest, whether that's the case or not. Just something to point out. If you want to make sure it definitely works, that filter there will prove exactly what works. So 163 games definitely work on the PS5 and are set for it. So you may be wondering, is it worth it? Is it not? There's loads of games here to play. And what's quite nice about the system is you can narrow it down. You can say, well, I'm interested in a puzzle game. These are the puzzle games. The Pedestrian's a wonderful little puzzle game. Human Fall Flat is a great game. Humanity is. So there's lots of classic good games here. If we look at shooters, you've got all sorts of stuff on here. That's playable on the PS5. But if we go to any, we get far more. So you can see all sorts of stuff here that you can play on there. Now, as well as the game catalog, we also have the Ubisoft Plus Classics, and only 11 available on here as shooters. But if we go to any, that ramps up to 62 games. But again, some of these say PS4, and they may not work on the PS5. I'm not sure whether that's the case or not. So it'd be interesting if someone can make a comment on that. Who knows? That would be great. But the point is, that was in one of them, the Ubisoft Plus Classics game. So these were the ones that you get in the extra version of PlayStation Plus. The Classics catalog is part of the top one, the premium one, and you've got some really ancient games here that you can play if you've got the PS4, but some of them will work PS5, PS4, and some of them may not. So again, have a little look through here. So that one was recently released for the two consoles. I'm sure I've played Heavy Rain on here, so on my PlayStation 5, but maybe I haven't. I don't know. So it would be good to know whether that's the case or not, as to whether they work or not. So you can see that is another thing. We've then got the game trials. So these are the game trials that you get, time limited to trials to a selection of great games. So these are all the games you can trial. Baldur's Gate 3 would be an interesting one to trial. You've got all sorts of stuff on here. I think, let me see... Warhammer games, Space Marine 2 is on there. You've got Chaos Gate, Demon Hunters, you've got Vampire Survivors, you've got all sorts of stuff on here that you can access here with the game trials, and just give them a go before you actually purchase them. So it's important to point out that they are only trials. They are not games that you can play all the way through, just a little go with them. And then the other thing that we have with the overview, that's the difference with the premium, is the films that you've got access to, which is, let me see, I did see something about that somewhere. Man, there's so many things. Here we go. So you've got all sorts of stuff here, and it was the Sony Pictures catalog, up to 100 movies on demand at no extra cost. So this uses Sony Pictures Core, and once you install that on the PlayStation, you can rent other stuff from Sony, but you also have a catalog of up to 100 movies to stream on demand from Sony Pictures Core, but you can have access to all the other ones there. So it says how do you watch them, 3 ways to watch, blah 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 blah. Do I need to be PlayStation Plus to use it? No, you don't need to be, but being one is going to give you access to those movies. So that is it, my friends. That is PlayStation Plus compared in terms of the features. The other thing you're going to think about was price, which we did quickly mention. Now, I did talk quickly about prices, but just to make that nice and clear, we'll just look at this. So this shows the prices, and there is a deal on at the time of me making this video where you can save up to 35%, but that expires tomorrow on February the 4th, but I will tell you about the standard prices just so you can see. So Essential, £60 for the year, or $59.99. Extra, which gives you the game catalogue and the Ubisoft Plus Classic, $74.99. So an extra, what's that, £15 is the offer, but normally it's $99.99. So you're normally paying an extra £40 a year for that. or premium, normally 119.99, 77.99 at the time of making this video. So if you're quick, you may be able to get that one at a great deal. So if the deals weren't on, which one would I pick? Oh, this is difficult because it's, you know, it's £40 extra to access the games. And if you're going to play at least a few of them, which you probably will over the next 12 months, you'd say, well, it's only the cost of one game anyway. That difference is like £40. No, it's not even one game, is it? So you'd probably go, okay, I'll probably go with extra. This is the one which I fight with extra or premium because you get game trials. Might be useful because the amount of times you buy a new game without trialing it out first and you go, I don't like that. But how many of the games are actually going to have a trial out at the time of the game being new that you can access? That's something I'm not really sure on. The classics catalog, I don't see much value in myself, but maybe there's a game in there that you absolutely love. Cloud streaming, I don't really find that's anything that I would use that much in Sony Pictures catalogs. No. So for that extra £20 a year, I wouldn't go with that. I would normally debate extra or essential. I would probably lean slightly towards extra if I was going to go for that. However, with the deal on that at the minute, you can see there's only £3 difference between these two. So because that deal is so much more aggressive at the minute, I would probably say, okay, I'll go for that. Now, one thing to finally bear in mind is if you decide to go with a 12-month subscription, which of course works out cheaper than going month to month with the single monthly subscriptions or the 3-month subscription, make sure that you make a note of when your deal is going to expire, because if you don't and you take up this offer, then next year you'll be hit with this at the end on an auto renew unless you've turned that off. So make sure you turn off auto renew or cancel your plan towards the end. Your plan will continue until the end of its service date and then it just won't renew. And then look for another deal possibly then. But there you go. That's the difference between all of the different plans, the essential, extra, and premium. If that helped you out, give us a thumbs up, please. Much appreciated. Any comments welcome. Thanks for watching. And if you like what I do, hit that subscribe. Cheers.